What is up, everybody? It's our live stream Friday. I'll wait for a few people to get in here. But for those that don't know who I am a co-founder of Carbon Diet Coach along with Lane and Holly. And today I'm going to be answering your guys' questions about the app, nutrition, training, anything like that. So if you guys have questions, be sure to shoot them over to me. What's up, everybody? Got a lot of people joining on Instagram. I got Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube going. So if anybody has any questions, they're curious about the app, functionality of the app, features, that type of thing, now is your time to ask those types of questions. I'm going to be here for about an hour today. So yeah, we can get started here. So first question, when do you recommend a reverse after a fat loss period? So yes, typically a reverse diet is going to come after a fat loss period or a time of caloric restriction. If you are like a chronic yo-yo dieter, you may want to do a reverse diet. But typically the length of a reverse is going to be about as long as you've been calorie restricted. So if you've been in a diet for quite a while, you can probably expect to be in a reverse diet for about the same amount of time. And the goal with the reverse is to transition out of that fat loss period in the best manner possible so you don't add a ton of body fat, and also to help improve your metabolism. So I would recommend a reverse for mostly everybody coming out of a fat loss phase, unless it was like a mini cut where you weren't in a deficit for too long, or you didn't restrict calories too much. In those scenarios, you probably find not doing a reverse. But if you are in a normal dieting period, or you had to restrict calories quite a bit to lose weight, I would definitely do a reverse. Great question. Okay, so got one on YouTube here that I'm going to pull up. Can you explain maintenance in the app? So the app, I think what you're referring to is like the estimated maintenance value that the app is showing you. So that value is calculated based on your check-ins and the progress you made during those check-ins. So it kind of back calculates what it predicts your maintenance to be based on how much your weight has changed while eating those macro targets. So if you only have a single check-in, that value is probably not going to be super accurate. But what the app does, the more check-ins you have, it averages that maintenance value over time and over the course of multiple check-ins to give you a really accurate number. So that's what the estimated maintenance in the app is. Now, if you're asking about the maintenance setting in the app or the maintenance goal, that is a goal you choose if you want to maintain your weight. And what the app will do is it'll keep your weight within a certain tolerance range of that set weight. So no matter what is happening in your lifestyle or outside factors, the app is going to adjust your diet to make up for that and keep your weight in that range. So that is what the maintenance setting in the app does. Great question. Oh, okay. So Sarah meant the view under the me, not the goal. So yes, that's basically what I'm talking about. The estimated maintenance value, what I mentioned first. Okay, you got that. Great question though, Sarah. Let's see, got some Instagram ones. I'll just jump back and forth between Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram here. Okay, so on Instagram, if you change your goal in the app, does it ask for waist measurements again? I don't have calipers, but I think my body fat probably changed. So when you, let's see, so you change your goal in the app, does it ask for waist measurements again? So every time you create a goal and have the app, every time you create a goal, it's going to ask for either your body fat or your waist. And now that's on the initial goal creation. After you check into the app, it's not going to be asking you your waist again, but it will ask you your body fat. The reason why we don't have it ask your waist after the initial kind of goal period is just because entering your waist value for body fat estimation isn't super accurate. And we would recommend you testing your body fat and putting that in if you know it. But if you don't, I wouldn't put your waist to have it kind of calculate your body fat. We have it do that on the initial goal because the method that we use to calculate your metabolic rate actually takes into account your body fat percentage. So if you don't know your body fat percentage, the waist is kind of a general way for us to understand where your body fat percentage, like typical or kind of like estimated body fat is at, just to give us a decent starting place. And then as you check into the coach, it's not going to matter anymore because each week it's going to adjust its recommendations to get you to progress at that goal rate. So the app will ask you for your waist again next time you change your goal, though. Great question. Let's see if I got some more on Facebook or YouTube here. Let's see. May is asking, can I eat the same calories on my rest days because I work out 5 days a week, but on my week and I do not work out, I'm afraid to gain weight. So if it's not going to matter if your average calories are meeting the coach recommended targets. So if you have your goal set on fat loss, for example, or weight loss, eating higher on your workout days and lower on your rest days isn't necessarily going to make you progress any differently than you would if you were to keep it average. So you don't have to worry about gaining weight as long as you're following the coach's recommended targets. Unless you are on like a weight gain setting, then you can gain weight. But the app is not going to allow you to gain weight over a period of time. It's going to adjust to keep you progressing at what you set. So don't worry about having, you don't have to split it up where like you have higher calories on your workout days just because you burn more on those days. It all evens out over the course of a week and like on average. So you don't have to stress about, okay, I need to match up my calories exactly with my energy expenditure, like on the day level. You don't have to worry about it that much. So I would just, if you feel like having higher, use the calorie planner and make higher days. But if you don't necessarily feel like it, you can keep it the same every week or every day. And I personally keep my calories the same every day just because I don't want to have to think so much about, okay, now today is a high day and I need to aim for these targets. And then today's a low day. I like to have the same targets every day so that I can eat basically the same meals for an extended period of time and not have to track 100% of everything because I know exactly what I'm going to be eating. So that's kind of how I do it. Great question. Let's see if I got some Instagram ones. Guys, on Instagram, if you can put it in the question box thing, it'll be easier because then I can pull it up on the screen and then everybody will know what question I'm answering. Let's see. I think there were quite a few in the comments. Let's see. You're welcome, May. Could you all add a feature where we can upload a picture when we update our weight? So basically like progress pictures. That's something that we're considering, definitely. As a coach myself, like I have clients send update pictures each week and I use that to also evaluate progress based on what I'm seeing. And I use that in combination with like the scale and all these other metrics that I'm taking. So as a coach, I think it would be nice to incorporate pictures somehow into the coaching app. But I'm not sure how we would do that at this point. It has to be thought out really well because I want it to be something where the app can actually use that in its recommendations. So it would have to do like some crazy visual picture analyzation and see if there's like a significant change somehow. So it would be pretty crazy, but I think in the future it'd be cool to have that. Even just being able to upload the pictures and attach those to check-ins might be helpful as well, because then later down the road you can look back at previous check-ins and see what your picture was. But I think being able to use that for the coach would be pretty sweet as well. Let's see. Thanks for putting them in the box, guys. Let's see. Hi, I've been dieting for a while on 1,500 calories, when do you determine that you are ready to reverse? So the app will recommend a point where you should reverse diet, and it's based on where your calories are at in comparison to your lean body mass. And it might be a little low for people, but I would definitely, when you get that recommendation from the app, I think I would definitely follow that. But if you feel like you are struggling even before you get that notification, I would definitely consider a reverse. Like you can't just constantly be trying to diet, and if it's really hard to stick to the diet and you're struggling, you're not consistent, all these types of things can impede your progress over the long term. So if you need to take a little break, maybe do a diet break or something. But if it's more of like a chronic kind of thing where you're struggling and you can't stick to the diet, then I would definitely consider switching over to reverse. 1,500 calories, it's hard to say if that's a good point for you, just because it's different for everybody. But I would go by more how you're feeling psychologically with the diet. And also, if you're using carbon, the app will recommend a place. So great questions. And let's see if I got any on Facebook here. So this is kind of more of a like possible issue. So Eleni, I think is how you say it. Sorry if I botched that. The app so far is very user-friendly. My only issue is that any product I try to scan, it cannot recognize it. Is it because the app is still new or what? I have to create every product that I'm using. So if you're unable to find anything, what is most likely the scenario here is that your phone region is not set up to where you are trying to search for the food. So if you are, let's say if you are in Australia and you're trying to search for foods, and your phone is set up to the United States in the settings, it's going to actually use the United States food database. So you need to go into your phone settings and confirm that it's actually using the correct location. So I would first check that. And since you say that it's not finding anything, I think that is most likely the case. So definitely check that. And if you're on iOS, it's in the iOS settings app. If you go to that and then search language and region at the top, you can confirm what language and region you're in and make sure it matches up with where you're trying to search for the food. But otherwise, like the scanner is not going to find every single food. No food tracking app is able to find every single item you've ever searched for, but what it does find quite a bit. We tested a ton of different databases and scanners and that type of thing, and by far the one that we went with has been the best. So it should find almost all of the items that you are searching for. You can also try to search for the food item just by the name instead of trying to scan it. I know the scanner database has a little bit fewer results as compared to just searching for the term. So I would definitely recommend trying to search for the term if you're unable to find something. And then if you can't find it that way, then you can always create a custom food. But you shouldn't have to create a custom food from every single thing you track. Let's see, going back to Instagram here. So, does the weight gain goal do anything to limit body fat gain? Next goal is lean mass, so I'm debating between reverse or weight gain. So it's really hard because so much of gaining lean mass comes down to your training, your weight training. So the app, we did build into the app a way to like monitor your lean body mass changes over time. So if you on the weight gain setting, if you were to not gain the weight that you're supposed to for the week, but your lean body mass significantly increased, the app is going to take that into account and not make an adjustment because it seems like you are gaining lean body mass. So the app will take that into account, but but on average, it's going to try to keep your weight going up at the rate that you chose. So if that isn't your goal, then maybe a reverse diet would probably be a better choice, where you could take the allowable weight gain slider all the way to the left or the slowest, and use that as more of like a lean kind of bulking setting, where it's not necessarily forcing you to gain weight each week, but it is still providing that environment to maximize muscle gain, because you're going to be in a very slight surplus. So yeah, either setting's good. I think it just depends on what your goal is in terms of scale weight. If your goal is to push it at a certain rate each week, then I would go with the weight gain setting. If it's more of you are looking to gain lean mass and not necessarily gain a ton of scale weight, maybe go with the reverse diet setting instead. Great questions. Let's see, back over to, so somebody's asking, where do I change the location? This is talking about your phone's location. I only know on iOS, just because with Android, all the phones are different and their settings are a little bit different. So you would have to search Google for your specific phone device to see how to change the language and region on your phone. But with iOS, go to the settings app, pull down a little bit so you get the search bar, then type in language and region, and then click that. And then when you go into there, make sure that the language and region matches where you're trying to search for foods. You can also, so you do have iOS, so that's how you do it on iOS. If you also reach out to us at support@joincarbon.com, we can help sort out any of those issues you have as well. Let's see. I think I got some more on Facebook. Let's see. I think I missed a few. Is there any place for waist measurement after the initial setup? No, there's not. We're not using it as like a waist tracker. We're using the waist measurement on the initial sign up to just estimate a body fat percentage, just to give our initial kind of setup calculation a good place to start. And then as you use the app, it will adjust to find where you need to eat to progress. And it doesn't necessarily need that body fat percentage anymore or waist measurement. If you're past the initial stage, we only recommend entering body fat percentage at that point, just because it's probably a little less error prone in terms of trying to estimate body fat. No, there is not a place to enter your waist after the initial setup. Let's see. Back to Insta. So Kyle's asking, is this going to be saved on the Instagram page to finish watching later? Absolutely. It's going to be posted on the Carbon page once this is done, so you can definitely come back and watch this later. All right. Would it be possible to extend the recent food list to include more recent foods you have ate? So right now it is pulling the last 100 foods that you've tracked. So if it's outside of 100, it kind of goes off that list. But what you can do is you can just start typing that food in the search bar, and it should pop up right at the top under like your recents and favorites, because it was one in the past. So it should prioritize that and put that towards the top. But yeah, we're definitely looking to improve the food tracker and the recents and that type of thing. There's a lot of features that people are requesting for the food tracker, but please keep in mind, this is like our version 1 of the app, and we're still a pretty small company. So as we grow, we're definitely going to be improving everything in the app and taking all your guys' feedback and making it better for you. So if you guys have feedback about the app, like, you can always feel free to send them to us at support@joincarbon.com. We take it all into consideration on future versions and that type of thing. Let's see. Same thing with like this one. Is there a way to copy an entire day's meal to the next day rather than going meal by meal? Unfortunately, there's not a way to copy a whole day, but most people have three to five meals in their diary, so we don't feel like it's too cumbersome to copy three to five meals over to the next day. But we have heard this, so it's definitely something we will consider in the future. But right now, you got to copy it just meal by meal, and sorry about that. All right, going back to Facebook and YouTube. After doing a mini cut, do you suggest maintenance phase or reverse diet? Ultimate goal is to gain muscle again. So you're doing a mini cut. Typically, a mini cut is anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks of a little bit more of an aggressive deficit. It depends. What you do next really depends on your long-term goals. You say that you want to gain lean mass again, so I would probably do a reverse diet just so that you are constantly pushing calories up a little bit over time. This might be a little bit better than the maintenance setting for gaining muscle. So I would go with the reverse diet setting. And personally, I use the reverse diet setting all the way to the left. So the lowest amount of allowable weight gain, I find that this works really well for me. Some people like to see calories go up a little quicker, but yeah, it's just based on preference. We set a range that we recommend staying within, and then in that range, you can choose whatever you decide. So I would definitely go with the reverse diet setting, though. Oh, so if you're in the Middle East, you're not going to be able to find branded food items in the food database. Unfortunately, we're currently supporting U.S., Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia food databases. So if you're in those regions, make sure that your phone matches that region. But if you are in the Middle East, for example, we don't currently support that in our food database. But as we grow as a company, we're definitely going to be adding more regions to the food database. So sorry that we're not in your region yet. You can still use Carbon with any tracking app that you prefer. So we decoupled the coach from the tracker so that for people that prefer to use a different food tracker like MyFitnessPal, for example, they can easily do that. They can just enter the targets from Carbon that the coach gives them into their preferred food tracker and use that, and then just say yes or no if they follow those targets, and then Carbon will make the adjustments for them. So you can use it with any tracker that you want, and if you're in the Middle East, you probably should, just because creating a ton of custom food items probably will be a little bit of an annoyance. Sorry, that was difficult to say. Okay. Is there any way to log workouts in the app? Also, how much workout is too much workout? There's no way to log workouts in the app. You don't have to, because what the app does is it kind of adjusts your diet to make up for whatever you're doing. So it will adjust your diet to get you to progress at the rate that you set. So regardless of what you're doing, it'll keep adjusting the macro targets to find where you need to be. So you don't have to like update your activity level in the app. You don't have to let it know your workouts. It doesn't need to know that information to get the desired outcome. So how much, to your second question, how much workout is too much workout? That really depends. I think for most people, working out anywhere from like 4 to, I think a good general average target for most people is like 4 to 5 days a week. But if you're more advanced, you may want to be like more 5 to 6. If you're just a beginner, maybe you want to be more like 3 to 4. So it just depends on your level of experience, and also how intense your workouts are and what they look like. Because you could work out every single day if you go in and just do, 1 or 2 sets. So it just depends on what your workouts look like, how intense they are. your experience level, all of those things play into how much is too much. Your body will tell you how much is too much, and you will start feeling like garbage. You'll start getting sick more often. All these signs are signs that you're kind of overreaching and overtraining a little bit. So I would kind of listen to your body and see what is too much for you. Great question. Let's see. I got some on Instagram here. What's the point of a mini cut versus actually going into a long-term deficit? So mini cuts are nice because you could do like a long bulk where you put some mini cuts in between it, so you can kind of keep your body fat in check as you're gaining muscle. And mini cuts also you don't risk as much muscle loss because you're not in a deficit for a very long time. So you can do mini cuts and be a little bit more aggressive and get some more fat loss off without the negatives that come with it. And so that's typically why people do mini cuts. It's more of a, get in, get out thing where you want to just get some body fat off quickly. A long-term deficit is going to be needed if you're trying to lose a significant amount of weight, if you're trying to get very lean. All of these scenarios are going to require more of a long-term deficit. So I think it ultimately depends on your goals, your long-term goals, and where you're at currently. But you can definitely use both. They're both great strategies, and it just pick the right tool for the job. Great question, Kyle. All right, let's go back to Facebook and YouTube. Let's see. Heather, if you want to reach out to us at support@joincarbon.com, we can look into the specifics of what's going on with the adjustments and kind of help it make sense for you. So maybe it's better to reach out to us at support@joincarbon.com. Let's see. So if I check in the AM and found a couple times, or you check in the AM and found a couple times have gone over macros by the end of the day, is it okay to compensate in the next week? I have to scroll back a day to do that. So you are saying, so I think what you're saying is you check in with the coach, you get your new targets, but then you end up going over those targets that day that you got them from the coach. That day that you got them from the coach is the first day of your new kind of check-in period. So you still have 6 days to kind of make up for that and keep your average on track. So you shouldn't have to scroll back a day to do it. You should just be able to go into the calorie planner and adjust your day to match what you actually ate on that day, and then it will distribute it accordingly for the rest of the week to keep you on track with your average macro targets. Let's see. Instagram. So answered that one. Question, do you recommend doing 1 or 2 days refeed when cutting? I think 2 days are going to be, they're going to be a little bit better in terms of kind of undoing some of the negatives with dieting, but a refeed is like a very short-term fix for how you feel on a diet. Like you're going to feel good on those refeed days, but then after you're done with the refeed days, you're probably going to feel exactly how you felt before them. So it's more of like just a mental break. Both 1 and 2 days can work fine. But I think it depends on how fast you're trying to lose, because if you are trying to lose a ton of weight in a week, then you have less days that you technically can lose that in, because a refeed is basically going to maintenance for that day. So that would mean your other days would need to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of the deficit to keep you on track. So it depends. 1 or 2 days can work. I think just experiment with it. Maybe start with 1 day just because it doesn't alter your other days macro targets too much than 2 days does. So maybe start with 1 day, and then if it's still not working out well for you in terms of adherence or how you're feeling or whatever, maybe go to 2. And then one step up from refeeds is like refeeds are on the weekly level, but you can also do what is called a diet break, where that's more on like the monthly level, where you go to maintenance for a whole week instead of just a day or 2 out of the week. And that is like the next step up in terms of something you can try if you're struggling on a diet. So I would first try refeeds, then maybe diet breaks. And then if diet breaks still aren't really helping too much in terms of your adherence and how you're feeling and all that type of stuff, then maybe you need to consider jumping up another step to what is called like a reverse diet, where you go to your estimated maintenance and then you try to push that higher over time. Great questions. Let's see here. Once you reach your fat loss goal, how long do you stay there before starting a reverse diet? I think I actually recommend overshooting your fat loss goal by a few pounds at least. I mean, if you can overshoot it by 5 pounds, I think that's ideal, because when you transition into a reverse and you do a reverse diet, you're likely going to gain some weight while you're doing it. So you kind of want to have your new settling point to be on that goal weight. So if you overshoot it and then you're increasing calories and you gain a little bit of weight, hopefully you land right on that goal weight. But your specific question is asking how long should you stay there before starting a reverse diet. You can do like maintenance for a few weeks before you switch over to reverse after fat loss. And sometimes that's nice to just hold it at maintenance for a few weeks just to give yourself like a mental kind of break, because reverse dieting is also, sometimes it can be harder than the actual diet because your calories are still a little bit lower and you aren't necessarily working towards losing weight at that point. So it's like a lot harder mentally than a diet can be sometimes. So maybe going to maintenance for a few weeks after the fat loss phase is good from a mental standpoint. It'll help you kind of refresh and get your mind right, and then go to a reverse diet. But I would definitely recommend overshooting your goal weight by a little bit before you start a reverse diet. So Susan in the comments says, I am new, just discovered you. What is reverse diet? So a reverse diet is basically the opposite of a diet. You're going to be increasing calories over time instead of decreasing them to lose weight. So the main goal of a reverse diet is to increase your metabolism and your metabolic rate so that you can maintain your weight on more calories in the future. And so technically, if you are able to maintain your weight on higher calories in the future, you can also diet on higher calories because your needs will be higher. So if you are used to doing like a ton of low calorie dieting and yo-yo dieting, it can really take a toll on your metabolism, and you need to kind of reverse those negative metabolic adaptations by doing something like a reverse diet to help get you back to like a healthy metabolism before you can try to lose weight again in the future. So a reverse is going to take you to your estimated maintenance value, and then it's going to slowly increase calories from there. And the thought is these small increases in calories each week kind of stimulates your metabolism and kind of tries to push your maintenance weight range up a little bit. And it's kind of like you're at maintenance calories, then you make a small increase, you're in a very slight surplus, and you're hoping that your body's metabolic rate will adapt and speed up to that, because the more food you eat, the faster your metabolism is going to be. So the goal is to make small increases over time to try to push that higher and higher. So I hope that explains it for you, Susan. Yeah, that is a reverse diet. Great questions, everybody. Let's see. Are there any new updates coming soon to the app? Every week we do like a new update to the app, a new build based on things that we're seeing each week. In terms of like big feature updates, it might be a little bit before we do any bigger feature updates, just because we are a small team and we are working on fixing performance things, making it optimized, doing all those types of things first before we introduce a ton of new features. But new features are definitely coming. We're excited to release new features to you guys in the future. I know we had a few bigger feature releases since we launched, but right now it's kind of slowed down in terms of new feature development, but we are going to definitely increase that in the near future. So be on the lookout. New features coming soon all the time, and hopefully you guys are loving it. Let's see here. Guys, if you have questions, throw them into the question box on Instagram or drop a question on Facebook and YouTube. I'll get to them. Susan, wow, that sounds great. Thanks for the explanation. You bet. And Carbon actually does this for you. So Carbon can do your whole reverse diet for you and make all of the necessary adjustments and do it all based on how your body's responding. So that's one of the awesome features of Carbon, is the reverse diet setting. So if you want to give it a try, I highly recommend giving Carbon a try and getting it set up and going with the reverse diet setting if it sounded like that is something you need. So possibility to automatically update the weekly calorie planner as you input your daily calories. This is one we hear a lot. In theory, it's a great idea, but in practice, it's very error prone, because what if somebody were to forget to log a single food item or a meal one day? Like, that could literally throw off the whole app and the whole weekly calorie planner. So we are going to work in, I think, more functionality around this, but right now I think it's a little too error prone the way that things are to allow it to do that. So the way that you have to do it now, unfortunately, is you have to kind of match what your intake is in the calorie planner. So if you overate by 200 calories today, go to the calorie planner, adjust that up to what you actually ate, lock it, and then it will distribute the calories for the rest of the remaining days that you have that aren't locked. So you can kind of use it that way. But like that rolling kind of feature where it's constantly adjusting your macros, it's something we've talked about, we've gone back and forth with. So, but the way that we decided to do it is the way that we are going with it for now. But we are definitely looking to improve things over time. Let's see. Can you update macros in the planner versus calories? Unfortunately, a lot of foods don't show up all the calories from fiber. So I think what you're asking is, can you change the macro ratios on specific days? Like, for example, you want to have a ton of carbs on a single day, and then the next day you want to have more of a normal intake. We don't allow that in the app, just because if you're fluctuating so much in terms of your ratio of carbs and fats in your diet, it can cause your weight to fluctuate even more. And also that kind of like, it kind of enables the app to allow you to not be consistent with your diet. And we want to have consistency be like the #1 goal of people's diets. So by not allowing it to adjust all over the place in terms of carbs and fats and calories and all that, I think it helps people be more consistent, which is ultimately the goal with diet and stuff. Why is protein the same amount when calories are adjusted? So protein is set based on what your needs are and what your lean body mass is. So that is something that needs to stay consistent in your diet and steady, because it's based on what your body needs. In terms of calories, that is set based on what your goals are to progress. So that's what's going to be fluctuating more is your calories, and then how those calories are distributed, carbs and fats, is how it's broken down, and that's why those shift on a daily basis when you adjust the calorie planner. But protein, you definitely want to keep that consistent each day. And with protein as well, like you want to break it up pretty evenly throughout the day and have anywhere from like 3 to 5-ish meals of high quality protein sources. And that should optimize everything in terms of your protein intake. So isn't there very little difference with substituting carbs and fats from a weight loss perspective, though? From a fat loss perspective, yes. From a weight loss perspective, no, because if you are, so there's a lot of things that affect your weight. And in terms of like carbs and fats, the carbs are going to have quite a significant effect on your weight, because carbs are going to be used to create glycogen, and you store this glycogen. And when you store glycogen in your muscles, it also stores water with that inside of your muscles. So it has a much bigger effect on your weight. And so if your carb intake is fluctuating quite a bit throughout the week and your glycogen levels are kind of all over the place, you're going to also see the scale jump around quite a bit. So from a fat loss perspective, the carb and fat ratios is not going to really matter in terms of progress for fat loss, but they can definitely impact your weight. So that is why we kind of recommend keeping more consistency with it. Great questions, guys. You guys are amazing. Let's see. So for a beginner, can I start getting advice in your app? Absolutely. Anybody can start using the app. Kind of a prerequisite, though, to being able to use the app, or what a requirement you're going to have to place on yourself for using the app, is you're going to have to track your diet. And we included a food tracker for convenience so that you can keep track of your diet. And so a beginner can definitely do this. If you are somebody that doesn't necessarily feel comfortable tracking your diet yet, or you're not sure on how to do it, maybe just start with using the food tracker portion of Carbon and just kind of log foods, search for foods that you eat and just log them and get comfortable with that. And then once you're able to be comfortable with tracking your diet, then you can kind of introduce the coaching aspect, where it will adjust your targets that you're aiming for to be where you need to eat. So I think first become comfortable with tracking, and then after you're comfortable with tracking, then you can start using the full features of the app, like the coach. Let's see. Anybody on Facebook and YouTube have any questions? Haven't seen any new ones coming through there. Got a ton on Instagram, so I guess I'll keep answering over there. So during my first week, I suspect I dropped a lot of water weight from reduced carb intake. Will the app potentially increase my calories? It all depends. It depends on how much you lost. So the app does take into account the first week and a larger weight loss. So it does account for that. But there is still a range that if you get outside of that range, it will make an adjustment. But if you lose a ton of weight, your calories are probably too low. So you should get an adjustment up. But we do allow slightly more progress in the first week, just because that's how diets typically work. You lose water weight from reduced carbs and that type of thing. So yeah, that is, I would just recommend following the coach. We've thought about all of these things in terms of how we coach our clients, and we basically made the app like us in an app. So Elaine, Holly, and I, how we coach clients, we built this app and algorithm to do the same things that we would do as coaches. So if you lose a ton of weight, follow the recommendations and increase your calories and macros, and it will keep adjusting to keep you on track with your goal. Let's see here. So if you have a digital food scale, or sorry, if you have a digital scale that gives your body fat percentage, would you recommend using that number to input body fat percentage into the app? And the rest got cut off. So yes, I would definitely recommend using that. If you have a way to consistently test your body fat percentage and enter that into the app, I would definitely do it. People say that the scales aren't super accurate, which is true, but by entering in your body fat percentage consistently and often into the app is giving the app a trend to work with. It can kind of evaluate your body fat trend over time. Even though that body fat number might not be 100% accurate, it's going to be able to evaluate that trend, which is what's most important. So I would definitely recommend putting that body fat percentage into the app as many times as you put your weight into the app. And I personally do that. Like I have a Nokia Body Plus scale. I think it was formerly called Withings or something. I love it because I just step on it every day. It keeps track of my weight and body fat percentage, and I enter those into the app just so the app has more data to work with. So if you can measure it consistently, I would definitely put that into the app. Let's see. So once you're done logging food for the day, can you lock that day so you don't mistakenly adjust it? So I think you're referring to the calorie planner. Yes, you can absolutely lock the day, and you should. So if you hit your macro targets for the day, you don't necessarily need to worry about going into the calorie planner and adjusting it to match. But if you are outside of your macro targets for the day, you can go into the calorie planner, adjust that to match what you ate for that day, lock it so that then the app won't change your macro targets for that day, so there won't be any mistakes there. So locking the days in the calorie planner is definitely what I recommend you doing if you don't want it to adjust further. Let's see. Guys, if you have questions, put them in the question box thing on Instagram, or shoot me questions on Facebook and YouTube. You guys on Facebook and YouTube are being very quiet, but I appreciate you guys being here for this Friday live. By the way, we do these every single Friday. So we rotate, like Lane, Holly, and I do these lives every single Friday. And then some Fridays, all three of us get on the live together. So definitely check this out every single Friday. We are here to answer your guys' questions and help you guys as much as we can. So we really enjoy doing these. All right, so we have one on Facebook now. So George is asking, when I scan a barcode on the app and the same barcode on my wife's phone, I get different or no results. So George, what's likely happening here is your phones are set up in a different region. So I would make sure that the region that you're searching for the foods is the same in terms of, so like if you live in the US, but your phone is set up for Canada, for example, the phone is going to search the Canada database. So George, what I'm thinking is happening is that one of your phones is set up to a different language and region, and that is why it's using the different database. Because if you're using the same database, it should pull up the exact same information, whether you're on Android or iOS. So that is likely the issue, George. How do you reset maintenance level? So if you screwed up and put in like a maintenance level that is incorrect, or you kind of just want to enter your own maintenance again and start over, you're going to need to reset well, you don't have to reset the coach, but it depends on why you want to reset your maintenance level. If the data has been screwed up in terms of your check-ins, then I would reset the coach. But if you just want to enter a maintenance value and get recommendations based on that, then I would go to settings, coach settings, click goal. And then when you click goal, that's basically changing your goal. When you do that, there's going to be a screen that pops up that asks you what method you want to use to recalculate your goal. And I would be sure to click calculate new if you want to enter a new maintenance value. So if you click calculate new, then keep going through the flow. There'll be a screen that says rate your metabolism. At the bottom, there's a bottom button that allows you to click that and enter a maintenance value. So if you want to enter a custom maintenance value, that's how I would do it. So if you put in custom macro targets and not follow what the coach says, will the coach go off your custom macros the next week, or what you put in, what it put in itself previously? So if you put in custom macros, you're basically just overriding the coach and using the food tracker by itself. So the coach is not going to make recommendations based on any kind of custom macros. The coach is here to give you macro targets to follow, and then what it does is it evaluates how you progress while following those. So you're going to have to follow the coach recommended targets if you want to use the coaching feature and get adjustments based on those targets. So if you want to kind of give the app a more accurate starting place in terms of calories, then I would recommend entering in a maintenance value when you create your goal. So if you've been tracking your diet and know your maintenance value, I would definitely recommend entering that in on the rate your metabolism screen when you're creating a goal. Let's see. So is there a way to pause the app if you are entering a phase where you don't want to track for a few months, but you want the app to keep all of your info if you start up again? I don't know if you're referring to pause like the subscription. You can't pause your subscription with Carbon. It has to be active. But if you were to cancel your subscription, your account is still there. So next time you try to log into that account, if you want to start up again, all that data should still be there if you didn't delete your account. So if you want to pause, what I recommend doing is canceling your subscription, and then when you want to start up again, just resubscribing and using the same login information, and that will get you back into the account with all of the previous information. Let's see. Why do my macros recommend so much protein? Is there a reason? The reason is likely because an inaccurate body fat percentage was entered into the app, or you just have a ton of lean body mass. So I'm guessing the first is most likely the case. If you get anything funny with protein, it's likely because it thinks you have a lot more muscle than you actually do have. So if you entered the body fat percentage in, I would just confirm that that's actually the correct body fat percentage that you have. If you entered a waist value, there's more chance of an inaccurate body fat percentage being estimated. So I would just confirm the information that you're putting into the app, because it should be a good amount for most people because it's based on their lean body mass, and we set it based on where we recommend eating. Let's see. So on Facebook, George is asking, is there a way when creating a recipe that if you enter each ingredient in grams, that Carbon adds the total number of grams, so that when you decide to have a portion of that meal, that you can still get the macro breakdown for that portion? So far, I've had to tally it all myself, make the serving say like 2,000 grams of pie total, then 100 grams or so when I want to eat that portion. So George, the way you're doing it is correct in terms of you have to weigh the complete recipe after you make it, and then put that as the total servings. And then when you are tracking it, you track it as just how much you ate. You can't necessarily go by the ingredients in grams, because the ingredients in grams is not going to be the same after it's all cooked. So I would put all the ingredients in the recipe, you cook the whole thing, you measure that whole amount of what it is, put that for the recipe that you create, and then as you track, just portion out what you actually ate and track it that way. Let's see. If you enter an incorrect weight and fat percentage at the initial setup, can you change it? You can't change what you set. What you have to do is kind of reset the coach. So if you just started and put in something in wrong, I would just go to settings, coach settings, and then just reset the coach. If you are farther along and you put in something wrong, you can reach out to us at support@joincarbon.com, and we can kind of manually delete that on our end. But if you're just starting out, I would just recommend just resetting the coach, and that'll get you taken care of. Let's see. How important is glycogen and protein intake after a workout? So basically, how important are carbs and protein after a workout? Protein is pretty darn important after a workout. What you do when you work out is you're breaking down your muscle tissue, and you want to take advantage of the post-workout period to get in protein, because your body's going to be more susceptible or more responsive to that protein intake at that time. So I would definitely recommend getting in protein after a workout. In terms of carbs, it's not as important as long as you are eating an adequate amount of carbs for the whole day. Unless you are doing like 2-a-days where you're working out twice a day and you're working out the same muscle later in the day again, that's when carbs after your workout can be more important and something I would recommend. But for the most part, protein's important, carbs not as important after your workout, but it depends. And yeah, so you can also have just like a normal meal. Like, you don't have to have a specific kind of post-workout shake or post-workout supplement or whatever. You can just have your normal meal 1 to 2 hours after your workout and take all of the benefits from it. So don't feel like you have to get a specific like shake or something in, and don't feel like you have to chug it instantly after you work out. So let's see here. Got a few minutes left. I'm running pretty close on time here. It kicks me off after an hour, so I'll answer a few more questions, guys. So put your best questions in here, and I will get to them hopefully before this ends. Let's see. So if you scan a barcode on carbon and it differs from the item, should you modify that info? I would. The scanner is constantly being updated with the items in there, but if there is a chance that some of them are going to be not updated yet because the manufacturers haven't necessarily updated their info. So if you find a discrepancy, just modify it, change it to what it is, and then it saves that food for you so that you can use that again in the future. Let's see. Great questions, guys. I think I'll take one more question. So drop your best question in either on Facebook, YouTube, or the question box thing on Instagram, and I'll answer one more. Yeah, Instagram's warning me here. One more question. Let's see. Come on, guys. This isn't a question, so I'll take this and then I'll still answer a question. Just want to say thanks for all the amazing work. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, George. We really appreciate it. A ton of work has gone into this app, and we hope that everybody's enjoying it and it's helping people reach their goals. So I'm so happy to hear that you are enjoying it. One last question. Let's see. Okay, I'll just answer this one. How do you modify foods? If you click on the 3 little dots at the top right corner of a food item, you can click that, and then you can modify that. And what it'll do is it'll basically copy that information into kind of a custom food for you, so you can kind of use it as a starting place. Anyway, I'm going to be kicked off here now, so I'm going to call it at that. I appreciate everybody tuning in to this live. We do them every single Friday, so be sure to tune in and follow the Carbon Diet Coach page. You can follow me as well on Instagram if you want. My handle is at Keith Kraker. If you look in Carbon Diet Coaches, who they're following, you'll see me in there as well. So I appreciate everybody, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you guys soon.